This meeting is being recorded.
And then I had lunch with Aaron today, and he said he was going to ask the question. So I'm going to turn it over to Aaron and let him ask the question for this week.
Oh, whoa, no. Where did that come from? I thought you had the question.
No, you said you wanted to ask him about, remember we were talking about the social issues and how they're changed over the years? I thought that was a good question.
Oh, yeah. I guess it was, people say that politics wasn't as bad as they are today. Like there wasn't so much fighting between the two sides. And I guess I just wanted your 2 cents on that, whether it's always been there and just hasn't been as much in our faces as it is today, like with media and news constantly going and all that, or how that's evolved in your eyes.
That's a good, that's an excellent question.
That is a good question.
And I'm not even sure how I can answer that question. Let me say this. Politics has always been dirty. Let me say that. Politics has always been dirty, all the way back to when
Politics and religion.
Raymond Burr and Jackson and all of those guys. I mean, it was dirty way back when. They talked about each other. They talked about each other's wives. They did all kinds of crazy stuff. But I think we had a civil period somewhere between then and Trump. I think Trump brought back some of that old stuff. I really believe that his rhetoric has taken us in the wrong direction, where we may have been here. Obama had us going in a positive direction. Clinton had us going in a positive direction. Reagan, yeah, some of them, Eisenhower, some of them. So it has not been one party. Each party has had somebody that was moving us in a positive direction. But you always have those who, they don't like still water. they like waves. They like to have something going on all the time. And I think that mass media, now you got to remember that if you're talking about the 50s, the 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, we didn't have what we have today in terms of getting messages out. There was no Google, there was no internet, there was no social anything. So everything that people got, they got by radio or they got by newspaper. And I think that has changed a lot. Now people can get to millions of people with a message in a very short period of time. And they are probably, in my opinion, they're sending messages out that are not really healthy for society.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take. I think that if I had to sum it up, I'd say yes. Mass media has caused a big difference in how information is being disseminated. And the people who control that mass are not the best people all the time. You know, I mean, there's some people on the Democratic side, some people on the Republican side, some independents. Each side has some people that are really not working to make America the America that it used to be. And I'm not saying that what America used to be was all that great, but America right now is one of the leading countries in the world. I mean, it's the wealthiest country in the world. It's got, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, we have freedoms that they don't have in a lot of places on this planet. I mean, we do. And I don't think that there are very many countries where somebody can, where a people can come from slavery and end up in the White House. That is an achievement that I think can only happen in America. From slavery to the White House, I mean, that's a giant step. I don't care how you look at it, it's a giant step. And there had to be people who were really working to get that to happen. So if you go back and try to trace all that happened so that we could come out of slavery and become president of the United States, that would be one story. That would be one hell of a story to be told. But and nobody's even talking about it. You know, you don't hear people even talking about that story. They talk about everything else, but they don't talk about that story. So I guess, yeah, very good question. Hard to answer. And it's going to make me lay in bed at night thinking of more that I probably could have or should have said. You know, well, what are y'all's opinions about that?
This is not about us.
No, I'm asking what your opinion is. You mean I don't get to ask questions?
No.
I think that social media has changed the playing field immensely because you have immediate access to so much information, some of it true, some of it not true, but you got so much information, and it's all of these videos that back the stories that Black people have been telling all of these years, and you get to see the discrimination and the racism and stuff, you know, it's right in your face. Whereas before, you heard the stories, but they always discounted them as not being true. But now that they got the cameras and the videos and you seeing everything, it's like you can't deny the truth.
Aaron, have you ever seen The Great Debaters, the movie? You need to check that one out. The Great Debaters. I think
Aaron,
that's
you're
like,
on mute too.
that's a good depiction of what Nicole's talking about. A lot of stuff was happening behind the scenes and nobody knew. And they were acting like we were making it up.
Mhm. But in
And
so
if
many
you-
cases, like if you think about George Floyd, you know, 20 years ago, them police officers could have told a different story.
And that would have been
That would have
it.
been it, you know, but now people got cell phone cameras and they recording stuff. And so you get to see,
Bam in your face.
yes.
Yeah,
If
question.
you
I
really
would
want to
say-
see something, you want to see something that's current, that's going on, try to follow what's going on in Florida and North Carolina.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's crazy what they're doing.
It is absolutely insane what they're doing. So that would be something that if you want to follow what's going on today, look at what they're trying to do in those two states. And
Not
those are not the
trying
only
to
two
do-
states.
Not trying to do
They
what they are doing.
They are
They
doing.
are doing.
They are doing, right.
Mhm.
But it's going to be interesting to see where the whole country goes. You know, when the election comes, it's going to be sides. It's going to be distinct sides. Either you are going back to the 60s where women didn't have rights over their bodies, where LGBT didn't have rights and homosexuality was accepted. You're going to have to choose between that and the other part where you can, you know, when women get to
Have a
choose.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good question.
Yeah,
I'm glad you asked that. Now, let me talk about the question for, is it the question for today? What was the question for today, Andre?
I think it was your favorite trip? Where did you go? Was that it?
Yeah, I thought that was one. I thought it was one before that, but I answered that one today, not
because
too
you got
long ago.
homework, Sterling.
But the best,
Always giving everybody else homework.
yeah, I tell you, I'm gonna tell you, if I had to choose, I'd probably say the best trip I've taken was to Alaska.
Yes, I remember you put that in there. I read it.
Yeah, yeah. That Alaska trip was hard to beat. But for one thing, the ship that we were on was christened in January.
Of that
And
same year?
and we got on it in June.
No, Chris and
So
like.
that ship yep. They just hit it with that champagne in January and we were on it in June. And it was one of the only ships that I've seen or been on where they had a swimming pool in the back of the ship that actually brought water in from the ocean
Oh, yeah.
and heated it. So you had heated ocean water to swim in the
Wow.
back of the ship. That was really nice. Then we got a chance to walk on the glaciers, which I thought was really nice. We saw the calving, and the calving is when the icebergs are breaking apart and the big hunks of ice are falling into the ocean. We got to see that.
Mhm.
It was really just a nice experience, right? And
Did y'all get to see any whales, Dad?
no, but we saw some seals. We saw some seals sitting on some of the icebergs. But Johnny Mae says she saw something. And nobody else.
With you guys?
Nobody else on the ship saw it, but Johnny Mae did. So I'm not sure about that thing. But that was a really nice trip. And I was so cheap, you know, we were in town walking around. I think we went Ketchikan. And I saw a sweater, one of those crew neck winter sweaters, right? It was really nice. I thought that sweater was so nice, but I was so cheap I wouldn't buy the thing. I think it was $40, right? I wouldn't buy it. And then when I got back to the ship, Teresa gave me hell. Why didn't you buy it? You knew you liked it. Why didn't you buy it? And it's just cheap. Just wouldn't spend that $40 on it, right?
And the fact you still talking about it now, you
I
on the
know,
ship.
right?
Right. I like that sweater. That sweater was really nice. And I don't know. I just missed an opportunity, I guess. But that was the trip. And I thought the trip to Hawaii was pretty nice because when we took the cruise to Hawaii, we actually saw the lava flowing from one of the volcanoes. And we saw that one night. So it really looked nice. At night, you could see all of that hot lava and all of that fire and everything slowly coming down toward the water. That was a real experience.
Dad, what was the name of that cruise group y'all were in?
Well, we went with our investment club was one. The other one was our Pinnacle Club. We went on some with the Pinnacle Club. And Pinnacle Club, the Investment Club, and there were several other groups that we went. We went on at least 8 to 10 cruises. But I don't think we had a name. It was just church groups, peanut card playing groups and stuff like that. But I will always remember those cruises. That's why I love cruising, because to me, that's the ultimate relaxation thing. You do what you want to do when you want to do it. You don't have to cook, clean. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to go to bed. You can stay up all night. You can do whatever you want to do on that cruise, and they take care of you. They make sure that your environment is clean. They're always sweeping and polishing. And I mean, that's just a nice thing to just sit up on that ship and just cruise. That's great. And then for us to be able to do that, I mean, to have the wherewithal to just be able to go on a cruise, how many people on this planet can do that?
True.
And do it whenever they feel like it. You know, hey, we are really fortunate. We got so many things that we should be thankful for that we can do that our parents, grandparents probably never even dreamed about. They never even dreamed that they could do some of the things that we can do now. You know. But that, yeah, I think that was a pretty good question because, yeah, Hawaii and Alaska, those were my two favorite trips.
Oh,
And I think another thing I liked about those trips were kind of cool. They weren't that hot Caribbean business, you know, down there where the heat eats you up. No, I'll leave
you gotta
that.
be a fan of the sun.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful down there, but all those cruises that you go on, you see some beautiful country. The land that you pass by, the things that you see, even when you leave the ship and go, you see some beautiful country. And it lets you know that this planet really does have some beautiful places on it.
That it does.
It does.
And the other question I think you were asking about, it was the week before that, maybe that's the one you wanted to answer. It's like, if you could see or go into the future, what would you want to find out? And I think you said something where like, where's all the grass and the trees?
I did. I said, if I could go and see, the first thing I want to know, what happened to the grass and the trees? Because whenever I look at one of these futuristic stories on TV or anywhere else, the first thing I notice is it's barren. They got all these spaceships and all this stuff. Ain't nothing green. All you see is blown up buildings, landscape that's cluttered with all kinds of junk, but you don't see grass and you don't see any trees. And I'm wondering if that's our future. Because, you know, they always talk about what we saw in the past. All of a sudden now it's here, like the little, like the cell phones. I remember Captain Kirk and Beam Me Up and all of that stuff, right? All that scientific stuff that came out in the 40s and 50s and 60s now seems to be true. A lot of it is coming into being. The only thing I'm waiting for them to beam Scotty up because I know that's next, where they're going to be able to take a person in one place and transport them to another place. They're going to disassemble you here and reassemble you somewhere else.
As long as you the same weight and same whatever, you can just go. Hey, Andre, so what was that question again?
Right.
Say what?
If you could look into the future.
Is that if you could look at or go into the future, what would you want to find out?
Oh, okay.
And I think I also wanted to know what medical cures that they're going to come up with.
Okay.
Man, that's a tough question.
Yeah, I think that was the other part. I think it's what happened to the trees and all the greenery. And then I want to know, what is research going to come up with to help man deal with all of the diseases and illnesses that they are having? Because I think day by day, year by year, they're coming up with something to help somebody that's got a medical issue.
How about what was that Powerball number in 2023 in June? That's what I'm gonna tell them. Give me that answer. And we'll go from there. History will be remade then.
But I think those were the two answers I gave. I guess if I thought about it a little more, thinking about what the future would be like.
Still, you're gonna be up all night, boy. You got homework in me.
No, when I have my evening cocktails, I go to sleep. And I sleep good. I haven't had any problems sleeping. But you know what? I'm gonna take that. I'm sleeping more. You know what's happening? The medication that they're giving me, the Primadone.
I'm gonna stop recording now because
Oh,
this has anything to do with all of the